So all models are wrong. So the paper concentrates its attention mostly on applications of AI and how people are trying to use it in financial functions. And so that means people across like CFOs, accounting managers, wealth and investment managers, where you get a lot of people who are trying to explore it for portfolio management, monitoring of markets, finding intelligent markets, what to invest in, what to stay away from. But using all of those different tools, you run into challenges, and that's really what I try to go through in the article.
Yeah, and I mean, we can just jump on into it. What are those challenges inherent with AI and LLMs that are kind of creeping into finance?
Well, you get a number of them. One, finance in all aspects is such a heavily regulated industry, right? So anybody who's doing any kind of financial application, especially if you're doing it consumer facing, you wind up so locked down in terms of the communications that you have, the way you have to operate your business and your business function. If you're a CFO, obviously you are held to standards about how you are managing finance for your organization, and you have duties to the business. You have a standard of care. If you're an investment manager, especially in the consumer space, you have a tremendous burden of fiduciary duty. And then on top of that, if you're, say, running your own family office, I mean, your own wealth is on the line in terms of how you're operating your function. So, across the gambit, there are tremendous regulations, tremendous commitments you have to meet in terms of regulations. And so how does AI affect that, right?
Yeah.
You go in and you start using AI, and the first thing that you're going to see is sometimes it's overconfident in the types of responses that it will give you. And sometimes we'll say things that are flat out wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you wind up with this kind of classic issue in AI where sometimes it will say things as fact, even though it's not correct in terms of ground truth, or in terms of what you're trying to investigate doesn't really tie back to the underlying data.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what we're hearing, hallucinations in AI, right? That's a
exactly.
big hot topic thing right now.
And so a hallucination is it's built into the way that these LLMs work. And so you go back a little bit in the history of AI, and you have all of this different, kind of approach to, say, machine learning, where you are optimizing some statistical function so that the function learns a program so that it is giving optimal outputs based on inputs as you've trained it. And so kind of the program writes itself, right? But when you come to LLMs and you're talking about massive bodies of neural networks that do that kind of machine learning, they are actually trained to predict text output. And a side effect of what that does is, in all of that parametric memory that they're storing, and you're talking about trillions and trillions of parameters, they are designed to be creative. They're designed to give you an answer when you can't necessarily quickly determine an answer. They're designed to give you the best that they can do in a reasonable period of time. That's been a huge challenge of AI. If you want to build an AI, for example, that plays chess, and that can take 30 years to play the chess game, it's going to be much better at playing chess than the one who has to do it minute by minute with a real human player, right? So the one that does it minute by minute with a real human player has to make compromises in how well it plays chess so that it can do it in the time constraints that it has. This is a classic challenge in artificial intelligence for decades. But with LLMs, they have made that compromise in a way that say, I'm going to give you the best text output that I can give you immediately based on these billions and trillions of tokens that I've looked at and been trained on in the past. And so once they do that, they start to, if you want to generate an image that's a piece of art from an LLM, amazingly, they can just go do that because they're doing that based on all this parametric memory that is optimized towards associations from one thing to the next. But then when you go in and you say, what should I invest in? And it's doing that based on, predicting all of the text that it's read. It's not necessarily the response you would really want. So how are we mixing sharp reasoning with this ability to have kind of a conversation like we're having it here, where we're just, kind of talking about, imagining about a subject, and then switching over very quickly to facts and statistics that are real and ground truth? We haven't quite figured that out entirely with LLMs. I think in general, the LLMs that are available have gotten a lot better in the last few years. You see a lot less of this kind of thing. But it's still a challenge. And if you're in, financial management, if you're trying to help people make a determination about what to invest in or what to do with their money, you have a real duty to make sure that whatever you're using works. And hallucinations are just going to be an ongoing problem because they're designed into these systems.